Hi, my name is Shannon. If you have somehow stumbled upon my channel, welcome and thank you so much for being here. Now I am finally getting around to my review / analysis / excuse to rave about Colin and Penelope video for Bridgerton Season 3 Part 2. I am currently vacationing with family and am filming from a hotel room, as you can see. So I'm getting around to this a bit later than I originally thought, but better late than never. Now, was Part 2 perfect? No. Do I wish we had more Polin scenes? Yes, absolutely. But this is coming from someone who honestly would have been satisfied with Colin and Penelope being the one and only storyline of this season, and I understand that that's a bit unrealistic. So in this video, I want to, for the most part, dedicate my energy towards appreciating what I've already been given. And appreciate it I do. Greatly. As with part 1, I want to give a bit of an overview as to why I've loved Colin and Penelope in part 2, as well as a few things that I do wish I could have seen more of, but am not going to let dampen my love for the season overall. Then I'll go through my favorite scenes, watch a bit of them with you, and share my thoughts and interpretations as we go along. I am also going to be including timestamps in the description if you'd like to jump forward if you see that your favorite scenes are mentioned. And again, as with part 1, I'm really only going to be talking about Colin and Penelope in this video. They remain the highlights of the show for me and are the main reasons why season 3 was such a blast for me to watch. On that note, I will absolutely be sharing spoilers, so if you haven't watched the show yet and don't want to be spoiled, please skip this video. Now, when I first watched part 1, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it a month until part 2. I wanted the rest of Colin and Penelope's story right then and there, and honestly, June 13th seemed like eons away. I was impatient. And while the wait did seem long, now that I've watched part 2 and have reflected a bit, I'm actually appreciative of it. I feel like in that month, I was really able to savor the budding of the romantic relationship. With only 4 episodes available, I was essentially forced to go back and rewatch Colin and Penelope's part 1 scenes over and over again. And in that sense, I think I was able to understand and appreciate them more than if I was able to jump just straight into part 2. I was essentially in a state of blissful ignorance, surrounded by butterfly-inducing scenes, the joy of watching Colin fall desperately in love, and with the carriage scene, arguably the hottest on-screen intimate scene I have ever been graced with. Because the moment part 2 started, it felt like whiplash, honestly. It was like I was Colin in the carriage scene, looking around dazed and confused after arriving at Bridgerton House because, oh yeah, I had forgotten I had to come back to reality. We had some hefty things to address, some tough conflicts yet to resolve. And even though I knew we were going to get our happily ever after, I have to admit I was watching part 2 in a simmering state of anxiety until everything was wrapped up. Especially because Pen and Colin's conflict regarding Pen's whistledown identity promised to be, in my opinion, the toughest to navigate out of all of the couples so far. I had faith in them, in their ability to approach and overcome their conflicts in due time, but there were a lot of things I wanted to see addressed for it to be as rewarding and complete and true to them as I had hoped. I'm beyond happy to say that my expectations were met and even exceeded in some senses. We'll get to the details as we rewatch scene by scene, because now that I've finished, I've been able to go back and rewatch part 2 scenes and really enjoy them now that I know our main couple has emerged from the gallows stronger and truer to themselves and each other than ever before. Now, regarding Pen's identity and faults as Whistledown, I like the fact that she's messed up before and has to deal with the consequences, especially with the impact it has on the person that she loves most. It makes her character more complex and her and Colin's relationship more interesting. It makes Pen human. We see in these 4 episodes as well that Colin isn't perfect, as he struggles with overcoming his ego. I personally enjoy seeing characters handle apologies and take responsibility for their actions. It means they have to communicate, and it shows their level of emotional intelligence in how well they can adjust the balance between their own pride and respecting the other person when respect is so obviously due. But it's all a journey, and depending on the person, depending on their understanding of themselves and of the other person, it can definitely take some time. Pen and Colin's journey, both together and separately, is definitely no exception, but I was happy to be along for the ride. Now, regarding Lord Debling, I don't think it was until episode 8 that I realized we hadn't seen him since episode 4. Oh my god, I just realized we have not seen Lord Debling at all. And that his character was basically forgotten. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not too mad about it, and I think I've already gotten over it, but I did miss him for a few main reasons. He was a decently large factor in the progression of Colin and Penelope's relationship. He played a huge part in encouraging Pen to be her true self, and he was the reason why we got all of those scenes of Colin pining. I honestly feel like I need to thank the man. I loved those scenes. It would have been so deliciously fulfilling to see a final conversation between him and Pen, or even between him and Colin, preferably both. Honestly, I would have loved to see Lord Debling saying that he was happy that Pen followed her heart's desires, even if he was still a little bit upset, as he rightfully deserved to be. I think he was the type of man mature enough to process his bitterness and continue being cordial with Pen and Colin alike. It would have been a gift to see an interaction where perhaps Lord Debling congratulated Colin, saying that he was a lucky man, where Colin maybe struggled to contain his smugness, but still thanked him for the kind words. We'll now go through and rewatch some of my favorite scenes, and I'll be sharing some of my thoughts along the way. As I mentioned before, I did record my sister and I's reactions to some parts of episodes 6, 7, and 8, so you'll see some of those as well. Although I sadly didn't record our reactions to episode 5, just know that we were absolutely screaming during the mirror scene. We will start with the very beginning of episode 5, right after the carriage scene, as our newly engaged couple heads into Bridgerton House. She literally cannot believe that this is happening. Like, she cannot believe her eyes. How did we get here?
With great...
Oh my god, Colin's so happy.
Oh.
The reactions are so cute. Imagine your Pen. Just about an hour ago, you were expecting a proposal from and to be engaged to another perfectly acceptable man. Your longtime crush stomped on those chances for reasons that you simply cannot understand. Or that you maybe can, deep down, because what other reason could there be? But you have been there, done that, and you are far beyond expecting that you might be right. Except that, holy shit, he confessed, you were right, and now you have made out. He rocked your world in the back of a carriage, promptly asked for your hand in marriage, and now wants to share the happy news with the entire fam right now. Let's go. Now, we've been privy to Colin's side of things for all of part 1. Part 1 felt like Colin's POV in so many ways. We saw firsthand his journey in realizing and accepting his feelings for Pen. In seasons 1 and 2, we really only saw the romance from Pen's side, but in season 3, part 1, she was entirely focused on detaching herself from it. Coming into part 2, I kind of forgot that Pen had no idea about all of these things that I felt were so obvious. At first, I was a little bit confused by her response, or I guess by her lack of a response. I was thinking to myself, I'm excited, he's excited, they're all excited, let's go, let's party. Looking back, I realized that the audience has had 4 episodes to process, and Pen has had maybe an hour tops, probably even less. And I think Nicola does a really good job at showing that. Walking into Bridgerton House, you can really see that Penelope hasn't had a chance to fully process everything yet. She hasn't had a chance to really digest the fact that Colin, the unrequited love of her life, who she thought she was going to have to give up on forever, actually loves her back. She wants to be happy, but that happiness is dampened by the shock and the speed at which things have shifted. She probably feels like it can't possibly be real, like she can't believe that everything she's ever wanted is actually happening. Everything is muffled, but once Colin says aloud that they're engaged, the bubble implodes and Pen is overwhelmed by the reality of the situation and by the joy that she can finally allow herself to start feeling. And then there's Colin. I think he can definitely sense Pen's like silent freaking out here, but he is just so excited that Pen said yes, that he gets to marry the woman that he loves, the woman who his family already accepts and treats and loves as one of their own, that he cannot help but just be swept up in the excitement of it all.
Excuse me.
And then there's Whistledown. Can't forget about her.
But you are Whistledown?
Claudia's acting in this scene was so well done.
Just need a little time to find the right moment.
I do feel for Pen though, because she's torn between wanting to run towards Colin with open arms and being afraid that her passion in life and her past mistakes will cause it all to come crashing down around her.
All will be well. I'm sure of it.
Will it though? Pen's vulnerability really shows here, and despite the fact that she hadn't yet owned up to all of her faults, I still sympathized with her.
Explain.
Anthony was pure comedic relief for me this season.
Perhaps I have always felt something for her.
It's so satisfying to hear him say that as a fan, as so many of us have speculated that he's definitely felt something for her in some way, sense, or form for quite some time. Because in Colin's head, the engagement was just the icing on the cake that had already been baking for weeks, with the ingredients and the inner layers having already existed for years.
That's all that matters. But tell her.
Yes. 100% agreed. Like Anthony mentions, I was itching at this point for a greater and deeper conversation between Colin and Penelope. I really needed to hear everything be out in the open between the two of them. More than that, I really wanted to hear and see Penelope realize just how much Colin felt for her, that he felt all of the same things for her that she has for him all of this time, and vice versa.
Using Lord knows what wiles to entrap him.
Excuse me, I am still speaking.
Hot, especially with that little growl in his voice.
I proposed to her out of love, nothing less. Penelope is the most eligible amongst you.
Yeah, she is. I was reverted during this scene to just saying hot, 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 hot over and over again. Until Pen learns how to hold her own, Colin is there more than happy to do it for her. It really just goes to show the level of respect he holds for her and the respect that he absolutely believes others should uphold for her as well. I think Pen gains courage from seeing Colin stand up for her, especially to Portia, who for so long Pen has felt like she doesn't have a voice around. She really learns from his strengths as he comes to learn from hers, and it just makes their relationship feel so fluid and powerful to me.
This is to be our home.
Colin is just still so over the moon that this is all even happening. His enthusiasm is so charming and innocent to see. Pen, on the other hand, is still coming down from the high of seeing Colin defend her.
You do not realize how much that meant to me.
I will always stand up for you.
They are so cute. Pen's "you do not realize how much that meant to me" gave me the same butterflies as Colin's "it is my business because I care about you" from episode 4. Even though they were very different in context and overall feeling, Colin has, for a long time, even before the romance, directly expressed his affections for Pen. Of course, they were platonic, but it felt like to me Pen was afraid of doing the same to Colin out of fear that she would reveal her feelings to him, be rejected, and then possibly lose him forever. That line from Pen is like a breath of the purest oxygen after only partial intake for so long. It's still only a drop in the depth of her affections for him, for sure, but still it is so satisfying to see her finally feel like she can fully express her appreciation for him without feeling like she has to hold back.
Because I love you.
Are you sure?
Because of course she still doubts that he feels the same. But his little smile right there, he seems almost amused, like he's thinking to himself, I'm gonna have so much fun reassuring her time and time again over the years.
Bravest woman I've ever known.
This scene as a whole, so good.
The way your hair Cascades down your shoulder.
Pure poetry.
Shine. And you look at me like two blue pools.
Oh, is this his writing? I think it's because I always watch with subtitles, but he's not actually saying this to her right now. Like, his mouth's not moving. Is this his writing? But then he talks at the end, so I'm not sure. Like, he's talking right here. Either way, I love this scene.
You must tell me to stop if you do not wish for this.
He is forever checking in with her to make sure that she's on the same page as him, and lets her know again that she has every bit as much of a say in their pace as he does, and that consent is not just a one-time thing to ask for. I love this scene. I love this scene so much. Whether or not he was actually saying those words to her or if they were his writings in his journal for her to read later on, I absolutely love the nod to Pen's comments about Colin's eyes from part 1. When he compliments her eyes, it's like he's literally holding up her love for him and reflecting his own back at her to show that they are one and the same, equally strong and just as real.
Lie down.
Yes, sir.
Can we do it again?
Yes, Pen.
Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe 10.
I just love that both this scene and the carriage scene ended with them laughing together. It made me so giddy, and I really feel like this is one of the few details that just wouldn't feel the same if you read it in a book. Hearing and seeing them laugh together, seeing them finding new ways to enjoy and savor each other, all but made my heart grow wings and soar. So for the scene overall, I just love it when intimate scenes in TV shows or movies aren't just montages, and that is exactly why I have loved the mirror scene and the carriage scene especially so much, because montages aren't how we experience it in real life. I think Bridgerton does a really good job at showing that the scene doesn't even need to be entirely explicit, but that just showing it from beginning to end, including the quiet moments, the laughter, the little exchanges that I miss so often in shows and usually only can see in books. These things just make it all seem so real. So real, like many other people have said, that we feel almost embarrassed watching it, like we shouldn't be there because we're intruding on something precious and private. One last thing about the mirror scene and then the carriage scene as well. The carriage scene took place at night in the shadows. It was dark, obviously, and passionate and intense, whereas the mirror scene feels bright and airy in comparison, especially including the music. I just love the fact that we get to see them in such different lighting with such different vibes to the scenes overall.
There is nothing that compares to this.
I love that we got this scene. It feels like a little treat.
Good evening.
I'm here.
It's like they're the only two people in the room every time they see each other.
Most people, when they fall off a horse, are counseled to get back on it again.
I feel like Colin wasn't even nervous to make this speech. He was just pumped to do it, to literally let everybody know how much he loves Pen.
To knowing each other fully.
She wants to enjoy it, but yeah, she knows she's not being truthful with him in full. I love that in his speech, Colin really reinforces the longevity of his connection with Pen by mentioning how they met. It is beautiful to see how proud he is to know her, but of course he doesn't know her fully yet, and Pen knows that better than anyone. The guilt visibly continues to eat at her, and it impacts her ability to be truly present in the festivities.
Pen, where did you run off to? I was looking for you.
Hi.
Oh, he's so worried.
If you do not now share my feelings.
Well, that is absolutely not the case. And all the while, Colin knows Pen better than she gives him credit for, and he obviously continues to see that something is wrong. It absolutely broke my heart to hear him doubt her feelings for him, but of course, he doesn't know the true extent of her feelings yet, nor how long she's loved him. And then there's the fact that he doesn't know that she's whistledown.
There is nowhere else I would rather be.
I love seeing her little smiles when he says something that makes her heart flutter, I guess. Like, she gives him heart eyes and he just eats it up.
But I am happy to be patient until you are ready to unfold whatever it is you are feeling.
Like I said in my review of part 1, he never pushes Pen to talk about things when she's not ready, but Pen, it's time to come clean.
Only half as beautiful as you.
She literally gives him the hard eyes again, and he loves it.
What's all this ink? Have you been writing?
Oh, yes, letters.
No, the more the lies pile up, the harder they are to reveal, Pen. Come on, girl.
But it is truly bewildering how quickly one person can become all that matters.
I know he's clueless right now and that shit's about to hit the fan, but God, it's adorable. He literally cannot shut up about how much he loves her.
Miss Penelope Featherington.
I'm just so happy every time they smile at each other.
Bridgerton.
He's so pleased with himself. He just loves making Pen laugh and smile.
I know there is something you have been meaning to tell me.
I do kind of wish she had told him about Whistledown right now, but this speech was worth it, I think.
Cheers. In fact, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a very long time. That I have loved you since the moment we met. I have always loved you, Colin.
Oh my gosh, it makes him so happy. And I just think it's wild that Colin spent almost every episode in part 1 brooding and pining and being so serious, and now he literally cannot stop smiling now that he's with Pen.
I will spend a lifetime begging your forgiveness for not seeing you sooner.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I've been wanting to hear this conversation since part 2 started. No thoughts, head empty, just bliss.
Those parts are only for you.
If a man said even a fraction of the things that Colin said, I would just melt into a puddle and never come back up. It feels so good for her to write again. She definitely doesn't want to give it up. Also, the speed at which she wrote, Cressida could never.
You! Our Lady Whistledown.
Oh no! I wanted her to tell him and him not to find out, but it's okay for the drama. Is it? That's a lot. You know, this is definitely not how I wanted things to go, but I get that it's for the drama, so I'll let it pass. Let it be known, though, that in my ideal world, Pen would have told Colin herself, but then we might not have gotten the angry kiss scene in episode 7, so oh well.
Not for tonight's edition.
Oh, but every other one.
I can't believe she was trying to get away with that one.
All of the lies
Oh,
you have told me.
his tears.
Look, please.
I knew something was wrong.
Oh, the crack in his voice.
But you are the one that is at fault. I would never forgive you.
Oh my god. The intro, you see it? It was like windy and stuff. The tree was blowing.
Shit's rocky right now.
Shit's rocky right now. You know, all I can really say about this scene is fair, valid. Colin is valid in feeling hurt and betrayed, and Pen knew that she was in the wrong for not telling him sooner and that he definitely shouldn't have found out like this. He gave her multiple chances and she didn't take them. What makes it even worse is that her withholding this information from him made him think that he was unworthy of her and made him continue to question her feelings for him, which is just not a great start to a relationship for sure. I did not believe the "I will never forgive you" for a second, even though Pen probably did in the moment. All I was thinking moving forward while watching the scene for the first time was, all right, Pen, you have royally messed up. You deserve to be checked. Now let's see how you're going to fix this.
How long have you known?
And then I thought,
Once again, Claudia killed it.
oh, if she has, they have deserved it.
Are you forgetting what she wrote about me?
Did he deserve it?
Have you already forgiven her?
That line gave me hope, which I will talk about in a moment.
I think you should consider yourself uncommonly lucky you have never been in love.
He doesn't truly believe that, not for a second. But his pain is valid, though. Once again, fair. Colin is reeling right now from the pain, from being happily in love with his best friend to feeling like he doesn't even know her anymore and can't trust her. I mean, he's probably been questioning the very foundations of their relationship this whole time since he found out. But I like that he asks if Eloise has forgiven Pen, because in a way, it's like he's asking if there's light at the end of the tunnel. If someone who was just as close to Pen and burned just as badly could eventually process the hurt and the pain, accept Pen's eventual apology, and continue forward in the relationship. I don't believe that Colin would have asked that question if it wasn't something that he was entertaining himself deep down, and if it wasn't something that he knew he was capable of doing eventually. I think Colin subconsciously recognizes that beneath the heartache at the surface, his love for Pen hasn't gone away, but it has been badly bruised, and that it would take time and communication and the reassurance of his ability to trust her again to fully heal. But heal it might, and from this scene forward, I was still anxious when watching it for the first time, but I knew everything was going to be okay. Oh man, this scene is so hard to watch, especially after they've been so happy.
Perhaps that was another part of your planned entrapment.
You didn't mean to entrap me, Colin.
That comment hurt the first time I heard it, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was coming from somewhere else deep inside of him. Colin probably for sure has trauma from what he went through with Marina in season 1, and I think that's where that comment stems from.
Are you going to stop publishing?
I do not know.
And this is where his ego starts to bare its teeth. Everything I mentioned in the previous scene about how Colin subconsciously recognizes that his love for Pen hasn't gone away, I want to emphasize again that that is a subconscious recognition. Consciously, his pride is still very much so hurt. His heart feels like it's cracking, and he is absolutely in defense mode right now. Here we also see a glimpse of another thing that Colin's warring with: Pen's betrayal and his own ego. Emotionally intelligent and my favorite male lead by far though he is, his ego still just can't handle the fact that all of this time Pen was leagues ahead of him in achieving her dreams and making something of herself. And Pen is feeling guilty and remorseful, but still she can't bury that part of her that's screaming that she shouldn't let this thing that she's worked so hard to achieve go. And because Colin doesn't know yet what exactly whistledown means to Pen, it probably does seem to him like she's choosing whistledown over him, when in reality all Pen wants is to be able to pursue both love and power as men can. And so we're left at an impasse. After the butterflies and rainbows of the last 2 episodes, it was really sad to see them both in so much pain, but the fact that neither of them are willing to say out loud that they want to call the wedding off just really goes to show that they are both deep down still willing to put in the work to eventually make things right again. Their height difference cracks me up.
And what secret dealings have I found you in the midst of?
All of the things you have written over the years, all of the damage you have done.
Why do I kind of like that tone in his voice?
When you wrote about Eloise.
I realise now how misguided I was.
And when you wrote about Miss Thompson.
I'm glad that he brought those things up. They needed to hash them out.
So then you do not need whistledown anymore.
Again, the ego.
Do you know what is most humiliating?
It's like all his ego at this point.
Then what good am I to you?
Colin, I love you!
He's heard it before, but not like that.
Oh, we love good angry makeup sex. Oh my god! Outside!
Okay, what I liked about that combo was initial thoughts. They both were just speaking from their heart. Not everything that was said was easy to hear, nor the kindest.
But they needed to say it.
But they needed to say it.
actually said it.
So Pen bites back at the beginning of that conversation. Colin snaps, and they argue like we have never seen them argue before. But what I like about this argument/conversation is that Colin did bring up Eloise and Marina, because those were some things that I really needed to hear Pen acknowledge her mistakes and own up to them about. I think she does so with as much grace and sincerity as the situation allows, given both of their emotions running high. And Pen herself apologizes for not knowing before what she knows now. She recognizes that she can't change the past and can only control her actions moving forward. She's essentially asking Colin for the chance to prove that she can do better, and I really needed to hear her say that. I just so loved seeing her growth in these episodes. But we're in a tough spot because Colin just doesn't understand that all Pen really wants from him is his love and support and to be worthy of his trust again. And his ego is preventing him from giving her all of these things. Also, Pen is obviously confused and doesn't understand why Colin would undermine her compliments of his writing in the past. I think with this conversation, and especially with that line, she's now starting to understand that there is another layer to his animosity that she can't quite place. Now, I've always told myself that I'm not a fan of raised voices in arguments, but I have to admit I did find Colin's anger pretty hot in this scene. His anger stems from his raw emotions and doesn't come across as aggressive or frightening to me in the least. He expresses them loudly, but it's not scary to me. I think that there's a difference between using your emotions as an intimidation and fear factor and then using them to channel the magnitude of what you're feeling, because there's just simply no other way to put it. But that's just my opinion. Do with it what you will. And when Pen said I love you before they started making out, she's said it before, like in the church before they started dancing, but she phrased it then as her having loved him for a long time, like this sort of gentle thing that she's carried with her all of these years. And she said it again when Portia and Violet were planning for their wedding breakfast, but I don't think Colin was in the right mind state to want to hear it or believe it at that point. But when she says it now in this scene, it's with passion and intensity. There is just no denying the power or the truth of it. It is absolutely everything that she feels right here, right now, despite everything that remains unresolved between them. And I think it overwhelms Colin in a way and all but rips his defenses to shreds. And then they started making out. I just think it's so cute how Pen had to be on a step to even come close to matching Colin's height. And so, moving forward from this scene, we have Colin battling his own ego, and on the flip side, we have Pen trying to balance her life's work, love, and continuing to make amends with the people that she's hurt. I came into this wedding expecting shit to hit the fan during the ceremony, and I am so glad that was not the case.
Oh, her dress is beautiful. I can't see it. Oh my gosh! Oh. Confirming, we're doing this. Yeah.
To live together in the holy estate of matrimony.
Tension who? Conflicts who? They still obviously love each other.
Take thee, Penelope Featherington.
Take thee, Colin Bridgerton.
Oh my god, it's like Pen can't even believe that she gets to say those words.
Amen.
Amen, baby, amen.
This scene read to me like they had an unspoken agreement to table their issues and address them later. It is so obvious that they both still want the marriage and have maybe not the confidence, but the hope that things would work out in the end. And that hope was apparently enough for them to look happy and present in the moment, because man, do they look blissful as hell. You cannot convince me, looking at them standing at that altar, that these are not two people who would do anything to be with each other. Their conflicts were not fooling me one bit.
We can dance in a church, we're not here.
Oh my god, he loves it.
Very well.
Who would have guessed that they were angry making out in the streets just last night?
Not the T-Swift! Oh, and now they're all alone. That's beautiful. Because it makes it feel like it's just the two of them when they dance together.
You are Bridgerton now.
He's so smitten. It's like his default with Pen, and it makes their animosity towards each other seem so unnatural.
But surely this is a signal of the right path forward.
No, it's not.
You cannot possibly know because you are not a woman.
I'm so glad she said this.
I am whistledown. I will not change that.
Yes! I'm so proud of her.
I shall sleep on the sofa tonight.
Not the sofa. I feel like at this point, Colin has all but forgiven Pen for her betrayal, and now his sole focus is to appease his ego by trying to convince Pen to let go of Whistledown. He thinks he's found the solution to their problems, but there's still so much to learn, or unlearn, should I say, because in unlearning the prior bias he holds, which was so obviously instilled in him by the society that they've been raised in, he will be able to remove his ego from the equation and in turn give his support to Pen wholeheartedly, as I know he is so capable of doing and as I know that he deep down wants to do. But overall, with this scene, I am just so proud of Pen for speaking up for herself. In a way, I think that Colin is proud of her too, because it's what he's wanted her to do all of this time, but his ego just continues to hold him back.
Last episode, that's so sad.
Good morning. How did you sleep?
He's so dramatic. He was just waiting for her.
I am off to Bridgerton House for breakfast.
Like, he could have left for Bridgerton House like 15 minutes ago, but he just wanted to be petty. It's gonna be okay, Pen.
Because Cressida discovered my secret. She demands £10,000 to keep it.
It is not up to you what we do.
Excuse me, mister. Yes, it is.
I will not stand for anyone blackmailing my wife.
That is certainly a relief to hear.
Pretending like he's so mad at her, but God, the moment that someone puts her in danger,
But Colin, it is my...
Then perhaps you will...
it is her money.
Please, would you just let
I will not cower.
To Miss Cowper.
Like, this whole persona that Colin has going right now just seems so not like him. It is so unnatural to see him like this. But still, he did act like it, and he was talking over Pen and being extremely rude to her. I honestly felt like chastising a little boy while watching this scene, because that's what he was acting like. His ego was running absolutely rampant at an all-time high in this scene. By the time I watched it for the first time, I was just thinking to myself, man, how the tables have turned and Colin has so much apologizing and making up to do himself. Pen did not deserve to hear any of that, and she absolutely deserved to have her voice heard and respected. This was all her mess to begin with, and so it was absolutely up to her to take responsibility, especially because it seemed like she was the only one smart enough to get them out of it unscathed.
I found myself yearning to hear word from home. From Penelope.
Perhaps I am not asking for enough from you.
As expected, Colin's plan backfired and everything went to shit.
I'm afraid I have failed. And she wants double now.
You could tell he is just sweating.
I must apologize. It seems I have made everything worse.
Couldn't have said it better than that, honestly.
I will have to invent some kind of a lie.
He is absolutely regretting everything right now.
So very grateful for all your counsel.
God, Pen was so much nicer to him than I would have been. So Colin messed up royally. His ego has now deflated as a result, and though I'm glad that he apologized to Pen and admitted that she was right, I have to admit I wanted to see a little bit more from him. Pen was very kind for saying that she was grateful for his counsel, because I for sure would not have been so gentle. So I have to admit that seeing how well Pen handled it, like not getting frustrated with him or weaponizing his mistake, makes him reflect on how he could have better approached their issues before and how he might better handle them moving forward. Animosity truly does not become them, but patience and communication do. Hi, it is currently 1 a.m. and I am in the middle of editing this video right now, but I have some things I want to add. I was thinking a lot about my response to what Colin said and how he treated Pen here, but honestly, this just goes to show that Pen is the one who understands Colin the most, and at the end of the day, she would be the one to literally defend him to hell and back. So to tear Colin down on Pen's behalf because of the way he was acting here and in other scenes kind of really makes no sense, because she would be defending him and battling you at every single turn. Pen, out of anyone, can understand Colin's insecurities because she's been there before. She's experienced envy firsthand. She's envied Colin. She's envied the Ton. I think she understands even better than Colin in some senses how it feels to feel like you're not enough. And I think the fact that they're experiencing shades of the same insecurities and struggles makes it easier for them to understand and empathize with each other later on. Colin associates entrapment with dishonesty from his experience with Marina, and all of those times he was asking Pen for consent, it was definitely more than that. He was constantly checking in with her to make sure that she felt the same, that she was opening up to him just as much as he was to her, and that she wanted him just as much. Colin thought he was marrying for love, but when Pen was dishonest with him, not only did he feel like his best friend betrayed him, but to think that that betrayal made him think that she didn't love him when her love for him made him so unbelievably happy. He's a romantic at the core, and I honestly think that that alone would have been enough to crush him. The hurt they bestow upon each other hurts so much because of their history. Their mistakes trickle into their past, and it's understandable why Pen's betrayal literally has Colin questioning everything that he knows about her. He questions the validity of their friendship, her intentions with him currently, and he definitely questions if he was the only one that was loving so much, the only one as dedicated and intentional. But Pen counters Colin's doubts with "I love you" time and time again to show that despite everything that seems shaken on the surface, her love for him is unchanging and everlasting. She continuously shows him that even if he feels like there's nothing he can trust right now, he should at least trust in her love and trust that he's deserving of it. And trust especially that their love for each other will carry them through whatever challenges await them. And indeed, it does in the end. That left shoulder has a monopoly in Colin's world. This is what you're missing out on, my dude. Come on.
I would spare you the confines of a shared carriage.
Oh my god, yeah. He doesn't even wait for her to leave the room before he sits up. Ah, he's so dramatic. He asks for space, but is devastated to actually receive it. Ha! He's so proud of her, he can't even hide it. And he remembers how much he enjoyed reading her letters, which so clearly reflect her life's passion now that he knows that she's whistledown. Finally, he starts to let his ego go. He's realizing that he's loved and looked forward to her passion all of this time.
I do not wish for you to speak to him.
But we're running out of time.
I'm so proud of her.
I will not let my lies spread any further than they already have.
How am I meant to help you?
By loving me.
Yes.
You have shown me I'm capable of pleasure beyond imagination, but
he tries not to like it, but he does.
I just need you to stand by me. What is that restrains you?
I do not know.
Yes, you do. So by not accepting Colin's offer to ask Benedict for money, Pen is taking full responsibility for the consequences of her actions and doesn't want anyone else to get burned as a result. And she finally states what exactly it is that she wants from Colin. She wants love, respect, and to have him hold her hand while they stand side by side as equals. Colin knows exactly what it is that's holding him back. Now we just need him to finally admit it. God, this might be my favorite dress of hers.
Hello, all.
You got this, Pen.
One always has worth.
Oh.
Now, Barney! The bugs!
I honestly thought she was gonna be releasing like freaking hornets into this ball. But the butterfly, what a beautiful symbol for this season. Oh, and Eloise is so proud of her as well. Just like Pen learned from Colin in regards to standing up for herself, I think that Colin also learned a lot from Pen in that speech about being true to oneself and the kind of wisdom it takes for a woman to run the kind of empire that she has, especially in their day and age. And especially about the kind of courage that it takes for her to out herself to society with all of her wrongdoings of the past and all exposed. He obviously had thought she was brave before, but I don't think he realized exactly how much he meant it until this moment.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's cute. That's like their thing. That's how they always greet each other. Good day. Good evening.
But I would not object to an annulment if you requested one. I do not.
He's like, excuse me?
Because forgive me, but that was bloody brilliant. I have been envious of you.
Finally!
To stand by your side and soak up even a little bit of your light.
Have you ever heard anything so beautiful?
For joining me on the dance floor.
There's only one dance. And then you two need to skedoodle to your bedroom.
Mrs. Bridgerton.
Mrs. Bridgerton! That talk absolutely needed to happen. Do I wish it happened earlier so we could get more seeds of them, you know, happy together after resolving all of their misunderstandings? Yes, but we didn't. So therefore, I'm just going to be happy with what I have. When Colin tells Pen that he finally recognizes that she and Whistledown are one and the same, it lights up her face. It is exactly what she's been wanting to hear from him, that he sees her, loves her, and accepts her for exactly who she is. Colin finally admits his envy-driven ego that's been holding him back these past few episodes, and in the most beautiful way, his envy has at this point fully transformed into admiration for Pen, and he's honest with the fact that he was at fault. Besides that, I am just continuously so floored by how well Luke delivers lines of sheer poetry that would otherwise sound cheesy, but from him come across as so genuine and incredibly humble and so painfully obviously obsessed with his woman. No one but him could have pulled it off with flying colors, and all I can really say is that it was beautiful. My makeup would have been running down my face in the ugliest way if I heard that shit said to me, and I don't think I can ever accept anything less than a Colin Bridgerton level confession from any man in the future. Now, I do wish that we had gotten a few more scenes of them having some good long conversations about how they've learned from this experience and will use the things that they've learned to be stronger together and communicate better moving forward. I would have loved to see Colin expanding more on his struggles with his ego, and especially apologizing in greater detail for the way that he treated Pen at the beginning of this episode. And from Pen, we saw a lot of her apologizing the night before the wedding when both she and Colin were tipsy, if not drunk, and both visibly upset. It would have been nice to hear her explaining her full side of things, mistakes and all, from beginning to end in a more sober, calmer environment. But knowing them, I can say with confidence that they'll probably have many of those conversations together moving forward, even if we don't get to see them. So I'm happy with that.
I only know this because I've read.
Not you.
Save a horse, ride a Bridgerton, baby. Let's go.
Now, do I wish we had gotten more of that scene? Yes. Am I going to take my crumbs and run with them? Absolutely.
Goodbye.
Oh my god, I was so worried at this point that Pen was giving Whistledown up entirely. So glad to be proven wrong.
You're the most handsome of them all.
Oh my god.
I could not have written my book without the help of Philemon.
You will stay on to enjoy them with me as we begin this next part of our journey. Yours truly, Penelope Bridgerton.
Okay, that was so cute.
No!
Shit, 2 years. 2 years.
Editor Shannon here again. I almost forgot to mention, but my little sister would like to let you know that she's not mad at the way that season 3 ended. She actually loved it, but she's just impatient and doesn't want to wait 2 years for season 4. So we have been fed, in my opinion, a 5-course meal with 2 drinks and dessert included for the price of 1 Netflix membership with this scene, which, now that I'm saying it, still isn't that cheap, but you get what I mean. They have a child, they're happy, I'm happy, they are literally glowing, kissing in front of the window that Pen used to gaze at, hoping for a glimpse of Colin, and we get confirmation that Pen gets to continue writing, now as Penelope Bridgerton. I was not expecting all of that at once in that scene, but man, was it beautiful to see, and in my opinion, a perfect closure to the season. I did want to mention one last thing that I think impressed me with this season. I'm the type of person that usually loses interest when the couple finally gets together. I'm like, okay, cool, we're together, on to the next. But I did not feel that way at all with Colin and Penelope this season. I was invested in their relationship and seeing how they were going to fix all of these issues that they had, and I was so satisfied by the end of it. So kudos to the writers, kudos to Nicola and Luke, and yeah, it's gonna be hard to top this season for me. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. I am obsessed with this season. It really has touched my romance-loving heart in a way that I haven't experienced on screen before. And while I am sad that Penelope and Colin's story is over, I can only hope that we get to see a lot more of them in future seasons. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, because I am sure that I missed quite a few things, and while I don't intend for this channel to become solely a reaction or review channel, please do let me know if there are any other shows or books that you'd like to hear my thoughts on. But until then, thank you so much once again, and take care and goodbye for now.